During your practice of Vipassana meditation, when your concentration and mindfulness getting strengthened, you can note them as arising, disappearing, one after another. Maybe hundreds of objects. Then you can get the impression that everything is oppressed by appearing and disappearing, rising and falling, rising and falling. This rising and falling or appearing and disappearing is a kind of oppression. The appearing is a precursor to disappearing. The rising is a precursor to falling. It rises so that it can fall, and falling is also a kind of oppression. Appearing and disappearing oppress our five aggregates every moment, creating continuous oppression. This constant oppression by appearing and disappearing or rise and fall is the characteristic of dukkha. When explaining the first noble truth, in his first sermon, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, Buddha said, Sankhetena Pinjupadana Khanda Dukkha. In brief, the five aggregates of clinging or namarupa are suffering, which means that everything in the world is suffering. If you understand this to mean the continuous oppression by arising and disappearing, you can easily accept the truthfulness of the Buddha's explanation. And we need to understand the five aggregates of clinging in terms of the 11 aspects. And meditators should attend to the five aggregates of clinging as impermanent. That means you must practice meditation so that you see the five aggregates of clinging as impermanent. Then meditator must see them as suffering. However much you find fault with the five aggregates or your mind and matter, you still have them and you need to attend to them. And our five aggregates of mind and matter are like a tumor. Many repulsive things ooze out, such as greed, hatred, delusion, etc. And the five aggregates give us suffering of different kinds. Because we have eyes, we have to suffer the objects we don't want to see. Because we have ears, we have to suffer the sound we don't like to hear. And they are like darts in our flesh. And once a dart gets into our flesh, it is not easily removed. So the five aggregates of mind and matter are to be viewed as a dart causing suffering. And the aggregates of clinging are to be seen as misery. The five aggregates are censurable because they give up pain, suffering, and bad results. So they are to be viewed as akusala, unwholesome. And also five aggregates are to be seen as affliction, which here means occasional sickness such as cold, indigestion, diarrhea, or fever. When you are sick for a few days and unable to eat or to do what you like, you may suffer because of this affliction. Even though it is an occasional sickness, it can afflict you with suffering. In the same way, the five aggregates are like occasional sickness. Since we are composed of the five aggregates, we cannot do what we like. We have to look after them, we have to protect them, and we have to avoid what is unsuitable for them. So meditators is instructed to see these five aggregates of clinging as affliction or occasional sickness. So now you may understand the seven aspects of the aggregates as impermanent, as suffering, as disease, as tumor, as death, as misery, and as affliction. All of the seven aspects of being dukkha. So the five aggregates can be seen as dukkha, or in terms of these seven individual aspects. In seeing them as a disease, as a tumor, and so on, we are seeing the dukkha aspect of these five aggregates. And the next aspect is alien. A person who is an alien is not in our power because that person owes allegiance to another country. He is an outsider and we have no authority over him. So we refer to him as alien. The five aggregates must be regarded as alien, not belong to us, and something we cannot control. This alien aspect belongs to anatta. And the teaching of anatta is the most distinctive nature, distinctive feature of the Buddha teaching. It is the most difficult to understand, the most misunderstood, and the Buddha appeared at a time when most people strongly believe in the existence of an inborn entity called Atta. Almost all other faiths believe in one kind of Atta or another, but the Buddha appeared and he taught that there is no self, no Atta. There are only the five aggregates, and these five aggregates are not Atta. In order to understand anatta, first we need to understand atta, which in the time of the Buddha was seen as different things, as a master, as one who lives somewhere permanently, as an active person, and as one who fully experiences both joy and suffering. According to these views, there is also something called an atta residing in one's body, and this atta is a master. It is master of itself and it is master of the body. There are people who think that they are master of themselves. They do what they want to do, and they say what they want to say, and they eat what they want to eat, and they go where they want to go. If they really think they are master of themselves, they should try practicing meditation for a few minutes and see if they can keep their mind on the object. Then they would really see if they are master of themselves. Their minds may wander off quite often and not stay where their owners want them to stay. Faced by the five aggregates, there is this helplessness in us. Although we think that we can think of whatever we want to think, if we try to train our mind on one object, we see that we are not master of ourselves. We are at the mercy of our mind. And so the sense of anatta, no atta, manifests itself to us when we try to practice meditation. Then we know with certainty that we are not master of ourselves. Actually, there is nothing that is master of the body. There are people who stating that there is something called an atta living in the body. Atta enters our body at the moments of conception or moments of rebirth, and it lives in the body for the entire life. And when we die, it will leave our body and enter a new body. It will go on like that and never die. Although the physical body will die, it is one belief in atta that many people had during the time of the Buddha. Are we really free from this notion? Some Buddhists even say something like this. They say that there is soul or atta, and that when they die, it will leave out of one's mouth or nose. So even Buddhists still have this belief. It is known as a belief in atta, as something abiding in us permanently. Permanently here means it will change from one body to another and goes on without becoming impermanent. It is permanent and goes on from one life to another, one body to another. Only the physical body deteriorates and dies. This belief is compared to wearing new clothes. When clothes get old and dirty, a person leaves them and gets new clothes. In the same way, this atta resides in the body, and when the body becomes old and dies, the atta will move into another new body, and so on. There are also people who believe there is an atta, and this atta does everything we do. When we do something, it is not we who do the action, but the atta. Whatever we do is actually the action of atta. There is one view of atta. There is another view that it is atta that experiences, enjoys, or suffers. When we enjoy something, it is not we who enjoy, but the atta that enjoys. And when we suffer, it is the atta that suffers. Whenever we experience anything, it is the atta that experiences, not we. For those people who believe in this way, atta is very real. And Buddha rejected all of these theories. And in his second sermon, Anatta Lakkhana Sutta and later discourses, Buddha taught that rupa, body, is not self, nor atta. Vedana, feeling, is not self, nor atta. Sanya is not self, nor atta, and so on. Because he knew the truth of anatta, he rejected the view of permanent entity, the view of atta. It is important that we see the anatta nature of the aggregates of clinging, and we need to, it is important that we see the anatta nature of mind and matter. In order to see the anatta nature of mind and matter or aggregates, we need to practice Vipassana meditation. Only through Vipassana meditation can you see that rupa, body, and others, or the five aggregates, are not self and not atta, and there is no atta in body and in the five aggregates. When you practice Vipassana, you watch your mind and matter, thoughts, emotion, the breath, the rising and falling movements of the abdomen, and so on. And when your concentration or understanding becomes mature, you begin to see the mind matter process or the five aggregates clearly. When you begin to see clearly, you will know what they are, and then you will see them appearing and disappearing, rising and falling. you will see that at every moment there is the object that is noted and the mind that notes. You can find only two things at every moment of your meditation. When you are mindful of the abdomen, there is the rising movements and there is awareness. There are only these two things. There is nothing in the form of a person administering the mindfulness of the breath, mindfulness of the rising and falling movement. At such moments, meditators see only the rising movements and mindfulness of the rising movements, and there is nothing more. Meditator cannot see atta there. Only when you see through Vipassana meditation that there is no atta, there is no permanent entity involved in seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and knowing. Do you see the nature of anatta non-self correctly? Anatta nature can be seen only through the practice of Vipassana. When you practice meditation, you will come to see that there is no master. There is no such thing as a permanent abider. There is no such thing as a doer. There is no such thing as an experiencer. There is only the experience. There is only the doing. There is no doer. There is no experiencer. At every moment of any experience, you can see for yourself that no person, no individual, no self or no atta is involved, but just the doing action or just the experiencing action. So through Vipassana, you come to see the anatta nature of mind and matter or aggregates. This is one kind of anatta nature. And there is another kind of anatta nature. It is not subject to any authority or control. When you see mind and matter arise and disappear, arise and disappear, you know that you cannot interfere with that process. You cannot tell them, hey, wait a moment, I want to see. Stop disappearing. You cannot do that. You cannot tell them. You cannot have any authority over them. Actually, we are helpless. Mind and matter just arise and disappear by their own nature, by their own free will, and not at our free will. It is also an aspect of anatta, having no authority over a process that is unsusceptible to authority. In order to know the anatta nature, we need to know three things. What is anatta? What is the characteristic of anatta? And what is anatta nupassana? What is it that is anatta? The same, five aggregates. Five aggregates are anatta. The same five aggregates are not self, and the same five aggregates have no self. When you find the words anatta, you must be careful. Sometimes it is translated as meaning without atta. Instead, let us say that rupa body is without atta. This would mean that there is atta, but rupa body is without atta. Anatta really means no atta. Therefore, it is the negation of rupa being atta. So when we say rupa is anatta, we mean rupa is not atta, rupa is not soul, not self. Anatta is sometimes translated as soullessness. But be careful, if we say the five aggregates are soulless, then they will say that the five aggregates are soulless, but there is the soul somewhere outside the five aggregates. They will say like this. So the word anatta comes from na, which means no, and atta, which means self. So anatta means no self. It can also mean not self. When we extend the meaning, it can mean we cannot have any authority over it. And also it means the five aggregates have no core. Some trees have inner core, the hardwood, but rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sangara, etc. have no such core that lasts forever and is permanent. So anatta has three meanings: no atta, not subject to authority, and no core. It is not atta because atta self can mean authority and core. So when you say anatta, we mean one of these three things. It is not atta, it is not self. We cannot have any authority over it. And it has no core. So this is called the characteristics of anatta. The fact that we cannot exercise any authority over it points to it being anatta. So what is it that is anatta? The five aggregates. What is the mark of anatta? Having no authority and also having no core or being no core. Understanding that the five aggregates are anatta, through observation of the five aggregates or during the observation of the five aggregates is called anatta nupassana. repeated seeing or repeated observation of non-self. Nibbana is also anatta because it is not atta. But Nibbana is not mentioned in this discourse or in the Visuddhi Mega because the context here is Vipassana. When we are talking about Vipassana, we do not include Nibbana because it is not an object of Vipassana. Only the five aggregates of clinging can be the object of Vipassana. So when you practice Vipassana, you take the five aggregates of clinging as object, but you do not take Nibbana as object. The purpose of Vipassana is to see the three characteristics. Nibbana has none of these three characteristics. So however much you watch Nibbana, even if you could, you will never see impermanence of Nibbana. You will never see suffering of Nibbana. And Nibbana is anatta, Nibbana is not atta. This we must understand. When we are talking about Vipassana, when we are in the context of Vipassana, we leave out Nibbana simply because it cannot be the object of Vipassana. But if we are speaking in general about such things, as what is it that is anatta, then we may speak about the five aggregates and Nibbana. So characteristics of anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanence, suffering, and non-self are called the general characteristics of all conditioned phenomena because they are found in all conditioned phenomena. That means in all aggregates, in all minor matter. It is very important that you see these three characteristics because without seeing them, you cannot progress in your practice of Vipassana. That you cannot reach the stage of enlightenment if you do not see the three characteristics. So in order to see these three characteristics, anicca, dukkha, and anatta, there is no other way but to practice Vipassana diligently, to practice Satipatthāna meditation continuously. So in practicing for the fulfillment of paramis, it can be fully achieved if patience is applied. You need to have patience. Among these parami, adhitthana parami, determination, viriya parami, effort, and pinya parami, wisdom, are proximate to your attainment of nibbana. Only if persistent effort is made, as originally intended to reach nibbana, cessations of aging, sickness, death, and all dangers with a firm determination. Your Vipassana insight knowledge and Ariya Meganyana will be fully accomplished. Reflect on the virtues of the Buddha, and Buddha fulfilled the Virya Parami. Bodhisattva sat down under the Bodhi tree to practice meditation to become the Buddha. He made a very firm adhitthana resolution in his mind. May my skin, sinews and bones remain. May my flesh and blood dry up, but I will not give up this superhuman effort until I reach Buddhahood. I will not get up from this seat until I reach Buddhahood. I will make every effort to achieve my aim. Such an effort is called Samavayama, right effort. And Buddha makes reference to 3 levels of effort: Arambadadu, Nikamadadu, and Parakamadadu. Arambadadu, initial effort. Nikamadadu, step up effort. And Parakamadadu, progressive effort. So need to remember 3 efforts. Can you follow me? Arambadadu, Nikamadadu, Parakamadadu. Arambadadu, Nikamadadu, Parakamadadu. Arambadadu is initial effort, Nikamadadu is step up effort, and Parakamadadu is progressive effort. Initial effort, making the effort to develop your mind that is beneficial, to develop knowledge. With this strong desire to develop a wholesome mind, you come to this retreat, you are here practicing meditation. That is initial effort. And having commenced your practice, after some time you may feel tired, experience discomfort, bodily ache and pain, itching or feeling sluggish. At this stage, we need step-up effort to overcome these internal obstacles. With boosted energy, meditator must make a strong resolve to not change your postures or get up from your sitting, and instead continue amidst the discomfort and pain in order to develop your momentum in effort. And having overcome feelings of laziness or discomfort, you need to strive towards developing knowledge, and this requires progressive effort, prakamadadu, to continue your practice. So a meditator boosts your effort stage by stage until you reach your goal. Although initial effort requires much work, as the practice progresses, Your energy builds up, gathers momentum, and support your practice as you strive towards the higher state. So applying effort stage by stage in your practice, your sloth and torpor are absent, as you observe every arising and every falling, every thought, imagination, or whatever phenomena that arises. You start to feel momentum. Because effort develops and supports your mindfulness, your mind becomes collected, focus on the object, and with developed concentration, your knowledge arises. So applications of effort in this way is praiseworthy as it brings about beneficial results. So your mindfulness block kilesa. Keeping your mind firm from being attacked, retaining your mind with the object. So each noting is supported by one application of effort, and there is one moment of mindfulness. When mindful moments are connected one after another, mindfulness is firmly established on the object and protect your mind from mental defilements. Practicing in this way, your momentary concentration, Khanika Samadhi, comes about naturally. So meditator is one who applies the 3 levels of effort. If the person looking around, gazing here and there, stopping and starting, leaving gaps in the development of mindfulness, the kinds of person is not guarantee result in the practice. Without continuous effort, there is no guarantee of progress. And in order to develop effort in the practice, meditators behave as if he or she is blind. A blind person does not wonder about. There is nothing projected through the eyes. Even if the eyes are open, meditator behave as if he cannot see through them without following the visual sights gained through the eyes, wandering here and there. And secondly, as a deaf person, ignore sound, whatever sound received through the eardrums, note them as hearing, hearing and gone, and noting continue. He can really capture the natural phenomena as they really are. That means impermanent suffering and non-self nature of the sound. Thirdly, always have a beginner's mind, even if you are endowed with much worldly knowledge. Just be as if you know nothing, following the teacher instruction clearly and humbly. Fourth, even if you are healthy and strong, do things slowly as if you are a sick person. For example, if you had a back trouble, you will sit down slowly, carefully, making sure that you wouldn't hurt your back. In the same way, meditator do all activities slowly and mindfully to capture the every arising mental state. and practice as if you are a corpse. In the same way that a corpse lying on the ground does not react to the pulling by the dog or attack from birds, you don't react to physical pain and discomfort. By direct observation, through your continuous noting, avoid the internal chatter of reasoning and questioning that arise due to your worldly knowledge. And many yogis who have strong pain, they overcome very clearly by following this advice. So these instructions are not to make us blind, deaf, and to feel as if we are incapable or lacking in strength, but they are the way to develop our concentration so that knowledge can arise very clearly. So we must adopt these attitude in the practice to develop our Vipassana knowledge. The meditators behaving in this manner are able to develop concentration and Vipassana knowledge in just a few days. If we fail to act in this way and instead not really mindful, even if we practice for many days, there is no hope of gaining the benefits of the practice. So this is the way to put our effort so that mindfulness and concentration can be sharpened. We have to stop our discourse for today. We will continue next time by practicing Vipassana meditation by observing every phenomena occurring at the six senses, by noting, rising, falling, sitting, stretching, bending, seeing, hearing, continuously and meticulously. May all meditators be liberated from all suffering. May all yogis realize the real peace in the very near future.